Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the Columbia Heights Public Schools Independent School District 13 regular school board meeting of Tuesday, May 13, 2014. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Palmer.
Here.
Bardell.
Here.
Larkin.
Here.
Landwehr. Here. Meyer.
Here.
Lee here.
Thank you. As is our custom, Columbia Heights Public Schools creates worlds of opportunity for every learner in partnership with supportive small-town communities by challenging all to discover their talents, unleash their potential, and develop tools for lifelong success. Our core values in this district are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. Next on our agenda this evening is agenda approval adjustments, announcements, and correspondence. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda this evening?
I'll move that forward.
Second.
Motion by Missy, second by Ted. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Announcements, May 20th, Tuesday, 6 p.m., school board work session here in the community room. May 26th, Monday, no school. May 27th, Tuesday, 7 p.m., regular school board meeting here in the community room. June 10th, Tuesday, 7 p.m., regular school board meeting in the community room. June 11th, Wednesday, last day of school for students. June 11th, Wednesday, 7 p.m., Columbia Heights High School graduation. Where's the time go? Superintendent Kelly, any correspondence?
Mr. Chair, members, there's none tonight.
Very good. Next on our agenda this evening is communication with the board. This time, any citizen employee may briefly address the school board. The board will listen to brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if desired, request administration follow up. However, the board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time. Also, we want to make sure that data private information is not brought up with anyone speaking before the board. Is there anyone who wants to speak before the board? All right, seeing none, I think we'll go forward. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda, which consists of minutes of the April 8th and 22nd school board meetings, the personnel report, and the treasurer's report for March of 2014. I have a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Missy. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion has carried. Thank you. Next on our agenda, discussions, reports, and information items. Board members will report on board activities since the last regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education. Would you like to go first this evening, Missy? Thank you.
Sure. I attended a couple of things. I attended the mayor's breakfast where Superintendent Kelly did a wonderful job welcoming the community, and it was very nice to see, and thank you for having us there, and the great breakfast, and Keith Winchell looked great in his hat, his chef's hat, and so it was a very nice way to start the morning, so thank you for that. I also attended the career celebration the other night, celebrating the retirement of many staff. You go from one morning to seeing a lot of different people to then seeing a lot of community there too, and staff, so it was a great evening there and great conversation. Then the booster dinner, I also attended that. That was another great community event. It's always kind of fun because all of these different events are different people, different pockets of people that you get to be with. And then I also attended the spring musical, The Spelling Bee, which I got to get up on stage with the students, much to my chagrin, and I was very scared that I was going to spell words wrong. But much to my surprise, I was the last one to be finally actually kicked off the stage. I was told to spell a word wrong, so thank goodness for that. So at least I didn't embarrass the board, that I didn't know how to spell. So that was a really good evening. I will be attending a two-day event at the state school board and have a meeting there and a retreat on Thursday and Friday. And then I met with a couple of people from the city who just had some great compliments for the school, the grounds, and the things that are happening in our district, and some really big compliments. So kudos to superintendent, staff, and kids, because a lot of compliments on the kids in the school. So that's it for me.
All right, thanks. Laura?
I've been busy. There's so many wonderful things that happened in the month of May when you're in the school district. I also attended the mayor's breakfast. That was great. The speaker was absolutely wonderful. I had a wonderful time talking with everybody. I also attended the powwow a couple Saturdays ago over here.
Yeah,
You
I
were
was
there.
there,
Everybody was
yeah.
there, I'm sure. And that was absolutely terrific. Just to be able to see the culture, and the dancing was just amazing. I love the costumes and the dancing. The kids were fabulous. I didn't get to stay for the rice though, but I heard that was really, really good. I also attended the SECA event, the Clean, Fed, and Warm, which was kind of a collaboration, I believe, between SECA, the City of Columbia Heights, principally the fire department, police department, and the school district also participated with their bands. So that was really, it looked like it was very, very well attended. I had a wonderful time. I also attended the 7th, 8th grade concert over at Columbia Academy, and our kids are really, really excelling. I mean, they were doing some very difficult pieces, and at the junior high level, the academy level, they were just outstanding. The wonderful work that they've done over there with the band program. I also attended the career celebration, where we got to honor the careers of a lot of staff and teachers, and you kind of wonder when you're listening to all the careers and all the wonderful contributions that they've made to the district, just how the district is going to survive without them. And I think that was a question I had, was, isn't there any way we can keep them? Isn't there any way? So maybe we can convince them to come back. So that was just wonderful. It was wonderful to attend that. And then the last thing that I attended here was the 916 board meeting. And there were quite a few topics that were discussed, but one of the ones that was most interesting and probably most relevant to our district was a modified version of something called ART, which is, let me just get the exact terminology here, because everything's got to be some sort of an acronym around here. Stands for aggression replacement training. And what they had done was they had modified a program that was for both verbal and nonverbal students, and we're actually able to reduce and calm teach these children how to self-calm so that they could actually stay in the classroom and stay on task. And they're looking at perhaps being able to share it out with the districts by some sort of a training, and I'm fascinated. It was just fascinating to see the level of incidences where just within a short period of time, these kids are able to talk themselves through, okay, what do I need to do first? Okay, I need to take a couple of breaths, and why do I feel upset, and things like that. It was really incredible how they went from 75 incidences down to 12, within a 2 or 3 month period. Even with nonverbal students who, of course, can be terribly frustrated because they do have difficulty, expressing themselves. So that's great if the kids are, in the class and calm and they're learning. They're not. Everybody's learning. So I thought it was a win-win. So I'm fascinated to see, and I believe we're gonna get some more word of that soon. Yeah. So anyway, that was pretty interesting, and the construction on Carner Blue is coming through really well. And I do believe that there are some photos of some of the progress that's been made on the building, and I can send that over to you, okay? And then we can get it out to everybody else. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Lori?
I attended the MSBA Phase 4 training. We spent a Saturday learning about community engagement and different models and ways to engage and work with the community. So I'm looking forward to most of the other members of the board were there as well. So I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to use some of the things we learned that day. And actually, that's all I have to report this time.
Great. Thank you. Ted?
Yeah, I was also at the Phase 4 training, and what was really great about it was there were a lot of hands-on exercises and how to come to consensus and to involve community, which really highlights the need that we have to have an involved community to make schools successful. So it really put that to the forefront. And then also attended the booster dinner. Thank you again, boosters, for a great evening. We are so fortunate to have a great booster club in our district. And then I was at the prayer breakfast for the mayor. Again, a great community event. Great to see all kinds of different people from throughout the community. Look forward to it every year. And thank you, Superintendent Kelly, for the table so we could sit there. And then I attended the girls softball games today and yesterday. The girls have a full schedule this week, and then tournaments at the end, and they are just playing super well, and it's a great time to watch them. Attended the powwow as well, and got some of that food. It was really good. So it's just it's nice to celebrate the culture here. And then I was at an all-night party meeting. The parties committee is ramping up for a great event, and we need a lot of seniors to sign up. We're kind of slow on senior sign-ups, so if you hear this, encourage your senior to sign up for all-night party. Attended the Columbia Heights Business Council for the Chamber, and updated the business community on the school district, and then the Lions Club also, and updated them. And then also attended the career celebration. It's a great event always, and I'm always impressed with the camaraderie of our staff, and just how well they seem to work together. So it's great to see. And then also attended a WEMAP board meeting. WEMAP is focusing on strategic planning now, with the superintendent leaving at the end of June. They're looking at hiring an interim superintendent and seeing what would be the best structure for WEMAP going forward.
All right, thanks. John? I don't think this is in a particular order, but I started writing it down. I knew I felt busy, and I guess I must have been. I also attended the Phase 4 training, was able to attend the powwow, and as well as others. Just fascinated by the culture, the costumes, and things like that. It was a good time. I was at the SECA fundraiser. We did have a really good turnout. I haven't seen the final numbers for the financial part of it, but in spite of the weather, people came out for it, so it was a well-promoted, well-attended event. I've attended multiple high school JV baseball games. I was at Columbia Academy for their PTO fundraiser, the comedy event. Also at the high school musical, I refused to go up on the stage. I was not gonna, I knew I wouldn't do well, so I would not have been the last one standing for sure. ECFE had their picnic. I was able to show up for that. I was also at the prayer breakfast. Thanks for getting the table, Kathy. High school conferences, the high school band concert last night. The kids did a wonderful job. I attended the Minnesota State High School League annual meeting with Principal Robleski and Matt Miller. And one thing that I did want to talk just briefly about, I had an opportunity. I was asked as a firefighter, but there's a class that's presented up here, and it's called Careers in Criminals, and it's actually done by Captain Austin with the police department, and what they're doing is preparing kids for, the real world. And the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to come up and sit in and do mock interviews with the kids. So they come in, so they have to answer the real life questions and things like that. And I have to tell you that if these kids that I sat down and interviewed with are any indication of what we're turning out for kids in our district, I'm definitely proud, and we're going to have some really successful kids. So that was something that I got to do personally. That was a lot of fun. So that's it. Thanks. I also attended the career celebration. I agree with everyone. Great event. And I was also at the boosters dinner. I'm trying to remember because I didn't write anything down. I also went to the Phase 4 training, stopped in at the powwow. I agree, the dancing, the costumes, just a lot of fun. Enjoyed it immensely. What else? The SECA fundraiser I was at. AMSD, which I'll report on next time after the session ends, because there's still changes going on. I saw in the paper this morning, they're still looking at more things that they're looking at. So I'll report out on that, and due to time, I will turn it over to Superintendent Kelly.
Thank you, Chair Bardell and members. Does that mean you're going to let me have more time then?
Yes.
Oh, very good. Just checking it out. We celebrated the National Administrative Professionals Recognition with a luncheon and a backstage tour at the Guthrie Theater, and it was a wonderful time by all. And I wanted tonight to especially thank the Barb Feely Scott Bardell family for donating those wonderful swag bags for those involved in the event. People are still talking about those, so thank you. I attended the WEMAP Joint Powers Board that Member Landwehr talked about the work study with directors Holmgren and Burkus. We went as observers to hear what the focus was, and as Ted already said, they did talk about restructuring of the leadership, and also they reminded us to think about our commitment to WEMAP. So I'm sure there'll be ongoing discussions about that. I attended the AMSD Executive Committee meeting, and that was focused on the legislature in progress. And the other thing that AMSD is doing this year will be reinvigorating themselves through a strategic planning process. And so that will be going on in July. It was my pleasure to go to the Phase 4 training with other board members. And although I had to leave a little early because of the powwow, found it a very good workshop, and I would agree with Member Meyer that it would be nice to put some of those things into action. The powwow, what do you say about that? There was great food, great ceremonies, great dancing, great singing, and it was wonderful to be a part of it. There were hundreds of people that came over the course of the day, and special thanks really to Director Hollaby and to Zena Stenvig and Jane Reardon for their organizational skills in pulling the whole thing off. And for Casey Mahan, who took the most delightful pictures of the whole event. If you get a chance to see some of those on the website, they're pretty amazing. I'm going to frame one of them and put them in my office. So that was very nice. Thanks to all. And we had our final aligning technology with career and college readiness internal meeting for the year. And now Director Burkus and Hennekins and I will sit down with all the input and put the final touches on the career and college readiness pathway and the skill set, and then bring it back to the admin team and then bring it to the board. Great group to work with this year. I had a wonderful time down at the academy. I did a site visit, which was fun to see everybody in action. I got a chance to actually observe a dance class, which was fun. The mayor's prayer breakfast, I thought, was one of the best I've ever attended. Sal DeLeo was the guest speaker on gratitude, and he really drove home the point of what to be grateful about. He has a book out that will be, the proceeds will be supporting the mayor's fund, the city fund, and part of that fund goes to buy musical instruments for our kids. So if anybody's looking for a good read, those are still on sale. Directors Holmgren, Burkus, and Hennekins and I attended an academic return on investments workshop. And what we're trying to do, and I've talked about it before, is put in place some things that once programs or pilots are up and operational that we can measure by putting in critical attributes and the staff involved, the academic return on investment. And so we're looking for at least 3 or 4 projects to pilot that with next year. The Clean, Fed, and Warm benefit was a great event as well, and I can't say enough about that. And I actually had a chance to win some of the baskets this year because Nicole Hollaby left early. So that was great. The Athletic Boosters and Recognition Dinner was wonderful, and thanks to all of those who helped on both events. I attended the Teacher of the Year recognition event, and so special thanks to Dr. Carolyn Bang, who was the recipient this year from North Park, and we look forward to seeing her in the parade and seeing her hanging on the wall as well. Principal Busman and I met with VH1 Save the Music Foundation as part of our annual audit for our band program, and that went very well. And she also brought with her, the auditor brought with her a representative from the Minnesota Public Radio. And NPR is thinking about supporting music education, and they really wanted to come out on the ground and see what our instrumental music program was like, and to interview Mary and I and talk about what possible partnerships there might be between them and Save the Music Foundation, but also if there was some choral music or instrumental music concerts in the future that we could send them the tapes, and if they are up to their standards that they might play them, which was very exciting. So thanks to both VH1 and NPR for those instruments and generous offers. Let me see, I wanted to thank the Columbia Heights Fire Department for putting on the suicide prevention workshop. Everyone I've talked to about that really enjoyed it. It was a part of a collaborative. People came after work and learned more about that. It was more of a 6-12 event, and Director Hollaby helped with that as well, but also Member Larkin in his role with the fire department really instigated that training, and it was so beneficial for our staff, so thank you. And then I had wonderful meetings and phone calls with many of you throughout the last few weeks, so thank all of you for your time. And that concludes my report. It's a good thing you were short.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, next on our agenda, we get to recognize the Employee of the Year. So I'll have Lindsay Bennett come up and let her run the show for a little bit over the next hour and a half.
You're giving Wendy a hard time on that.
Yeah, I know. I
Chair Bardet-
empathize with you, Wendy. So
I
just
said she
kidding.
could have a spot at the table, but she didn't take me up on that. Chair Bardell, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly, tonight we're here to recognize Wendy Bornatin, the 2013-2014 Employee of the Year. Wendy has worked for the district since 1989. This is the 5th year of the Employee of the Year recognition program. It's open to current employees who've worked for the district for at least 3 full years. This year we had a lot of nominations and a lot of wonderful people were nominated. We look for a strong work ethic, a positive role model, initiative and creativity, contributions to the work site, and other key characteristics. And before Wendy comes up, the entire teaching and learning department was the one who nominated her, so she didn't just have one nominator, she had a whole department. So they want to come up and read their nomination speech first.
Wendy, I told you there were pages of things to read. It just really wasn't from us, so.
So, the Department of Teaching and Learning nominates Wendy Bornatin for Employee of the Year. Wendy personifies Heights pride. A graduate herself, her 3 children also attended Columbia Heights schools, kindergarten through graduation. As the administrative assistant to the department in charge of teaching and learning, Wendy understands at a deep level that the best question always is, what's best for kids? She keeps this question in her mind as she talks to teachers and principals, orders curriculum, or manages a budget. We believe that Wendy's integrity, kind spirit, and commitment to excellence are exemplary and worthy of recognition.
Wendy Bornatin is really the backbone of the teaching and learning department. Without her, the department would be significantly less efficient and less effective. We work and communicate with the schools, community members, and countless organizations. Wendy will almost always know the answers to the questions that staff have, but on the rare occasions when she doesn't, she finds the answers quickly. Furthermore, Wendy is consistent. She follows through on everything. Wendy has an eye on the details and manages budgets and bills meticulously. She manages numerous accounts, budgets, and payroll for teaching and learning, as well as several school accounts. Everything has backup paperwork and the files are always up to date. In all this important work, Wendy Bornatin is our anchor who organizes us and supports us.
Wendy also has exceptional interpersonal skills that she displays not just in teaching and learning, but when she interacts with personnel across the entire district. She has a unique way of making everyone feel comfortable, relaxed, and at ease. If you have ever called or stopped by the teaching and learning office, then you have been greeted with a warm welcome and kind words. Day in and day out, we have the good fortune of working with Wendy, who brings a positive energy to the team. More than anything, we appreciate how Wendy treats people with kindness and consideration, making each person feel listened to and attended to. Wendy works hard to make all of us in teaching and learning look good by being there and supporting us. She does so without the need to draw attention to herself or seek acknowledgement. Rather, she takes great satisfaction in helping others be successful, the primary characteristic of a great leader. Because of this, we see Wendy as a leader of teaching and learning along with Director Burkus.
In sum, Wendy is at the center of all that we do in teaching and learning. Her positive and caring spirit sets the tone for our workplace, and her exemplary customer service to the many staff requests that are processed on a daily basis is unwavering. Her trustworthiness is unquestioned, and her proven record of organizing the details of multiple projects while helping manage an annual budget that exceeds $2 million. Her commitment to the success of others, students, teachers, principals, and each of us in our roles in teaching and learning is demonstrated through patient listening and kind words of encouragement. Wendy's commitment to Columbia Heights Public Schools has been apparent every day for the last 25 years that she has worked for the district. Wendy exemplifies Heights pride, hard work, respect for others, and loyalty to her community. As the colleagues of Wendy Borneton who have witnessed her amazing work and consistent contribution through the years to our district, we wholeheartedly recommend her to be honored as the 2013-14 Columbia Heights Public Schools Employee of the Year.
And I think Wendy wanted to say a few words real quick before we give her her certificate. You okay by yourself? Huh? That's fine.
Okay, thank you so much. It's hard to put into words how it feels to be nominated by coworkers who I have so much respect for. It's a pleasure to come in every day and work with all of them and support all the great things that they do for this district. I would also like to thank Superintendent Kelly, who believed in me and giving me the opportunities and confidence to do positions and job tasks that made me grow as a person and as a staff employee. I've had the pleasure of working with many dedicated staff members throughout the district and have been able to meet so many great people from our community. This award means a lot to me, so thank you.
Test, test. So it's my honor, on behalf of Columbia Heights Public Schools, to award Employee of the Year 2014 to Wendy Borneton in appreciation for your dedication to our students, schools, and community.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Wendy, you survived. Next on our agenda this evening, hard to follow up Employee of the Year, but the show must go on, is the Vision Card, ECFE and ECSE. This evening, our presenters are Kristen Stunkel, Director of Community Education, and Nicole Halby, Director of Student Services. So.
Good evening, Chair Bardell, members of the school board, Superintendent Kelly, Director Hallaby, and I are looking forward to presenting to you the Strategic Plan Early Childhood Special Education Scorecard for 2013-2014.
Columbia Heights Public Schools create worlds of opportunity for every learner in partnership with supportive small-town communities by challenging all to discover their talents, unleash their potential, and develop tools for lifelong success. We don't feel enough people read it, so we're taking the time to read it.
And amongst the many core values that our district has, tonight we'll be talking in particular about community and the establishing of community that comes from these early childhood years, the entrance into our school system, excellence, in our teaching staff, and also the 4-star rating that our pre-K program has. We certainly do a lot of collaboration between early childhood and early childhood special education, and as well the other core values. And then Nicole, if you'd like to talk about innovation.
Of innovation, our early childhood special ed team has written 3 grants now to get training, get iPads paid for them, and training to do some really innovative things with kids with disabilities, birth to 6.
One of the things that we look at on our scorecard is our early childhood screening. Early childhood screening is not an entrance test for kindergarten. It's really an opportunity to look at how the child is doing at grades 3, 4, or 5 before entrance into kindergarten, and that helps us to identify any areas in which the child needs extra support. So we're always aiming to try to increase those numbers of 3- and 4-year-olds that we're screening, and we did increase this year. The 3-year-olds that we screened were 26%, which is an increase of over 4%. The 4-year-olds, 46%, which stayed even, and the decrease with 5-year-olds. So we are really encouraging people to screen early. We do follow the strategic roadmap. It influences all that we do in our early childhood and early childhood special ed programs. And then we'll take a look at the scorecard. We're happy to say that we have maintained the level 5 vision throughout our scorecard in the areas that we are reviewing. So, do you want to?
Well, we just wanted to point out that the student engagement and the feedback and the coaching is really referencing walkthroughs. Through the K-12 system, the principals and administrators that are evaluating teaching staff are doing a series of walkthroughs, and we'll be setting it. The criteria looks a little bit different if you walk through someone's house and look at a teacher working with a baby and the parents, but we're working with our coordinators to establish a walkthrough protocol, so we'll be starting that next year as well.
That's measure A4. And that's the use of effective teaching strategies resulting in student engagement in the learning objectives through walkthrough protocol feedback and coaching. So I've been attending the data meetings with the other principals and becoming more familiar with how they're doing walkthroughs as well, so that what we're doing with our early childhood program can be consistent with that. We've maintained that level 5 with the presence and use of 21st century learning, with the percentage of evaluated staff working at the proficient and distinguished level. We have an outstanding group of teachers for which we're very grateful for. And then we do in every single classroom the differentiated learning.
Yeah, we do a lot of collaboration. Some of you who haven't been around on the board, but some of you have. We were one of the first districts that started fully integrating the majority of our kids on an IEP with early childhood family ed. And with Director Stunkel's leadership, We've just really ramped that up. Shannon Campbell and Chris Oren came together. They went to state trainings for teachers that collaborate and really are a model in the state of Minnesota for collaborative teaching between general ed, family ed, and special ed.
In our pre-K classrooms, for example, we have 20 students. 5 of them are ECSE placed, and 15 are non-ECSE. Many of those students are also being evaluated to see if they are appropriate for ECSE services. We also have adapted responsive classroom to be developmentally appropriate for our Birth to 5 programs. We have a lot of parent involvement. We do parent-teacher conferences and in the fall and in the spring. We also, with ECFE, have all of our classes are with the parents. We empowered, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago when we were here talking about parent involvement, we empowered our pre-K teachers to identify ways of doing parent engagement. You'll notice with A13, we say we'll begin 2014, 2015. That is because we didn't survey parents, which is what that item really references, but we do extensive parent involvement. And then the participation in early childhood program based on screening. So as I mentioned, we had that 26% were screened at age 3, and so we are trying to increase that. We haven't hit yet that 40% mark. Our early childhood programs, many of you have visited them. That's Early Childhood Family Education, otherwise known as ECFE. Our pre-K program, 3 and 4-year-olds. We have that at North Park, we have that at Highland, and we have that here at the Family Center. We're looking forward to next year, mid-year, that Family Center classroom moving to Valley View mid-year. We do home visits, as does Early Childhood Special Education. That's a great way to do outreach to families, or for families that might be involved in our programs but might have some additional concerns. We do the early childhood screening. Super Second Saturday is a wonderful event on Saturday mornings, the second, ironically, the second Saturday of the month. It's a great opportunity for families who are not available to come during the week for programming, also to participate. And then the Family Center presents on Thursday evenings.
And as I've discussed many times, we work with babies right from birth all the way to 6 years old to kindergarten. In early childhood special ed, and those little ones in the homes with the families are my particular favorite. It's really fun to be able to go into families' homes and see the education that the teachers are bringing every single week to these parents in order to help their child develop. And then early literacy training for parents. Early childhood special ed has written grants, as well as early childhood family ed has received grants. We're very proud of them. They're grants that enable us to work with our families to help, like do Father Read, Mother Read, a grant with early literacy for immigrants coming into our country to help strengthen them on reading with their child. And we're really excited that to get kids prepared for kindergarten, it's really critical to work with the parents and help them increase their child's literacy, because the parents are the child's first teacher.
We're pleased that this is our second year with the Parent Aware 4-star rating. That's the highest rating, and that's for our pre-K program. Being 4-star rated has enabled us to be able to participate with the Pathways 1 and Pathways 2 scholarships. That's made a significant difference in our district. It is enabling us to increase busing for families who need transportation to come to our program. It's also providing busing for our Bridges to Kindergarten program this summer, and also the kinder prep meetings that our pre-K teachers are having with all of their families to let the families know some ways that during the summer they can continue to prepare their child for kindergarten.
So our SMART goals for 13-14, expand staff and student use of technology from emergent to 80% of staff using technology weekly. And Kristen and I just wanted to make a statement that we really focused with our team on the technology use of staff. We think we really have a strong belief that babies through age 5 years old, what is really important for them is interacting with their world, their families, toys, nature, going out and enjoying the edible schoolyard and interacting with that. and to really limit the amount of screen time. The American Pediatrician Association says, agrees, so we're in good company, that we should limit the amount of screen time. So really, we use technology to assist the teachers to enhance the children's learning. They collect data using their iPads. They have apps in order to create things. They've done some Play-Doh work where they've put up a model for the kids on the screen, and they are using their hands to actually create something. So we really wanted to make the staff focus so that the teachers can work best with the kids.
And then the other SMART goal was about increasing parent involvement in our pre-K program from 20% to 50%, which we have reached in tailoring our parent involvement programs per class. All right, are there any questions?
Questions, comments? I'll just make a comment. My mother is a retired teacher in Illinois, and every time I mention the early childhood programs here, she is just impressed beyond belief. In Illinois, they have nothing like this, nothing. And, you know, she always tells me, looking back on it, that, you know, she saw a lot of kids who definitely could have benefited from a program like this. So, again, she's extremely impressed with our district, and, you know, I think the rest of us are too, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say, emphasize how important it is that we start young. As you know, when children's minds are so pliable and so, you know, able to learn, and having them read by 3rd grade is such a key indicator. And the younger we start, the more chance there is for them to do that. So I'm so glad to hear that you're doing mother read and father read, and focusing on things that work. So thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say I've watched this program grow so much in the last 12 years. It's leaps and bounds. You've really done great things, great leadership, great staff. So thank you very much for all your hard work.
Thank you.
I actually was going to ask if you could elaborate more on the special education aspect of the early childhood education program and how we're helping to facilitate that. Could you go into more detail on that?
Sure. So Minnesota has mandatory in the statute a child find, and that goes through the counties. And so children are referred either by a parent, can contact the school on their own, of course, and say, I've got some concerns. And we send a team out then to the home, unless the child's older, and then we'd like to see them in a play environment here at the Family Center. And we do an evaluation and determine if the child would be eligible for service, or if not, just give them some helpful techniques to kind of help them developmentally. We also get referrals from physicians, from public health nurses in the county, and then there's a telephone number that is widely advertised all over through the county, and they would contact us. Anoka Hennepin is the fiscal agent for that, and they would contact us if they get a referral from anyone, a neighbor, you know, a relative, a nurse practitioner, whatever, someone who doesn't have a direct line to the district can make referral through the number at Anoka. And then they contact the school district. They find out the address of where the family lives. So from there, as I said, we do a comprehensive evaluation. If the child qualifies, then we recommend, it's called an IFSP, something else for you guys to learn, an individual family service plan, because the family is so critical for small children. And from there, or if they don't qualify based on state and federal guidelines, our staff is phenomenal at referring to early childhood family ed, and then offering a lot of guidance on, if my child is here but I want to get them here, what steps do I need to take?
A lot of information. Thank you. Very well. Thank you.
Well, if the picnic is any indication of your success as far as parent involvement, it was a phenomenal turnout. It was really nice to see. So, nice job.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming in tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Next on our agenda this evening is Health and Safety 3 Years Plan. That would be Bill Holmgren, Director of Finance and Operations.
Chairman Bardell, members of the school board, Superintendent Kathy Kelly. I'm going to, tonight, the state of Minnesota asked us to review our health and safety programs with the school board. So that's why I'll be bringing you tonight, just as an update of what we're doing going forward for into next year. But first, just to touch on our strategic plan. This all ties into our strategic plan. And again, we want to create worlds of opportunity for every learner. And our core values that we'll be talking about tonight, tied to the strategic plan, of course, is community when we talk about our buildings and the excellence that we bring inside those buildings. When we talk about health and safety, we're talking about the health of our buildings and our environments. Something we do every year. This is something that mandatory that we have to do by the state of Minnesota. It's all our elevators have safety inspections on a yearly basis. Any lift that we have has an inspection. All our backflow preventers are all tested to make sure that they're working. Any protective equipment that our custodial staff uses, or teachers for that matter, are all tested to make sure everything's in good working order. Our playgrounds are looked at on a yearly basis to make sure they're safe for our children to play on. And of course, we also recycle any hazardous waste that we would have. Hazardous is kind of an ominous word, but it's even our computers that we are used up, we recycle those, and that's part of this program. And we look at management of the program as a whole. Things we'll have to look at, and we do inspections, are any guarding of any of our machinery, especially in our shops of our students working in any of our shops. Make sure any machines, the guarding is on and it's doing the right job. Chemical hygiene, we make sure that any type of chemical that our students are using or we're using as any type of cleaning agent, there's a program we follow to make sure we're safe use of any chemical. We have a safety committee that meets on a regular basis. So all the activities of that safety committee run through this program. Asbestos, we look at asbestos in our buildings. As you know, our buildings are a little older. It's pretty much all gone now. Really, when you look at asbestos, all that's left in our buildings is some flooring. Any flooring, though, that has some asbestos has some asbestos in it, but yet that tile is still not cracked, it's still safe for us to use. So we're slowly going through each building and cleaning them up. Fire alarm testing, of course, make sure our fire alarms are working and in good order. We do air quality testing on a regular basis. All our emergency lighting in all our buildings are tested on a yearly basis. And of course, we have an employee training program to make sure that they are safe in the tasks that they are doing. And then, of course, there's a little bit of administrative cost to keep this program up and running. Looking at projects that we're going into this summer with and into next year, ventilation improvements over at Valley View, part of the addition and then the remodeling of our art and science areas. We're putting new ventilation to those areas. Now we're going to have a lot more children in those areas, so we have to run a little more air than we had. Class size got bigger from what the kindergarten was in those classrooms. We are going to abate the old incinerator at Valley View and get that out of there. Again, that's something that does have asbestos in it, so it didn't burn up, but we don't use the incinerators anymore. So that will be abated and gone. We're doing quite a bit of emergency lighting maintenance this summer. We've run into some battery issues, and as equipment changes over the years, they can't get the same batteries. So we're slowly changing a lot of our emergency lighting. And again, like I mentioned, abating asbestos flooring. We do about 4 classrooms every year. It'll take us a few years to get through, but we do inspect it. But these are just next on the schedule to get taken care of. Also, some of the actually it's the carpet that's in the music rooms in Columbia Academy that will be taken out and actually put new tile in there and be a lot cleaner. The AEDs, another interesting thing where batteries that were for these AEDs, they're not gonna make anymore, so now we have to buy a different AED. So we're gonna buy one a year and sequence those in, so we're not have all costs up front. And then a new thing now, inside our air handlers, we have to add some guarding for our custodial staff as they open up those air handlers, so that's something new that we're working on.
What's an AED?
It's the devices that we have in all our buildings for anybody that goes into cardiac arrest, we grab the machine.
Automated external defibrillator.
I just,
Yeah.
that was just one I've not seen yet
I'm
listed
sorry.
in our.
Okay, but, well, I guess I didn't have to use that acronym. We actually could have spelled that out, so I apologize for that.
It's okay, thanks.
Okay, now talk about then the budget and what kind of money actually runs through our health and safety program. In 2014, what we're just finishing up, you see our physical hazards were right at 130,000. Our other hazardous materials, mainly what that other is really our recycling program. You see that we're spending 33,000 this year. Our environmental health and safety management is at 78,000. Asbestos removal is at 93. Our fire safety is at 44. And indoor air quality, which has been larger lately, mainly because lots of our air handling equipment is getting old. So as they fail, we have to replace them. So that's at 278. So you see we're spending almost 660,000 in this current year. And then going forward, we expect the areas to be approximately the same as we run our program the same. I mean, we could have a new legislation come in that would change some of these things, but at this point, what we know about would run forward about the same. So we're looking at 2015 at 694, and then projecting at 2016 at 720. And over the last few years, when you look at our levy, it has fluctuated between about 600,000 and about 800,000. And this is an area Tom and I both try not to let it bounce around too much. We want our levy to be flat for our taxpayers. Any questions?
Questions for Bill?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Great, next on our agenda this evening is, board will be presented with information on our communications audit, and we have Casey Mann, our Director of Communications.
Good evening, Superintendent Kelly, the school board, and everybody else in attendance. I'm here to report, along with Superintendent Kelly, on the 2013-2014 communications audit. As always, we start out with our mission statement, and we create worlds of opportunity for every learner in partnership with supportive small town communities by challenging all to discover their talents, unleash their potential, and develop tools for lifelong success. As well as our core values. And the alignment of the communications audit goes exactly with the mission, our core values, the Vision 2015, and the strategic directions. A communications plan supports everything in the organization. A little background. The school board approved the creation of a communications department in the spring of 2013, and in the summer of 2013, the director of communications was hired. And we started out by strategically starting a process to create a comprehensive communications program as well as a plan. At the same time, tactically creating initiatives, tools, programs, etc., to communicate more effectively with our employees as well as our communities. And from that, we also decided that a communications audit was determined to be a best practice for the development of any district communications program. That is recommended, and that happened in fall of 2013. And the decision was made to go with the National School Boards Public Relations Association. And the time frame for it was from December 2013 through April 2014. And the audit primarily consisted of focus groups, surveys, analysis of materials, media coverage, and a little bit more. Now, within the report, which I just received, I believe today, a communication audit of Columbia Heights Public Schools provides an important foundation for developing a strategic communication plan. The audit informs district leaders about community attitudes, the effectiveness of current communication efforts, and provides a framework for recommendation to expand or enhance the communication program. The audit also provides a benchmark for measuring progress in the future. Now, within the NSPRA communication audit goals, the first is to assess the effectiveness of the district's communications efforts. It's important to note that it's the districts. It's the entire district. It's not just the department. To solicit and evaluate key facts, opinions, concerns, and perceptions of representatives from various internal and external audiences important to the success of district communication. And that was primarily done through the focus groups. And to recommend where'd that go? Recommend strategies and tactics for enhancing communication with key audiences in order to improve the management of public relations, marketing, communication, and engagement activities for Columbia Heights Public Schools. So the process and procedures. They started out with a review of materials. I believe that I sent them well over 100 different documents, ranging from forms to letterhead to envelopes to brochures. We tried to get them as much as possible. And then we went to the focus group interviews, which were held February 2014 over a 2-day period. There were 10 focus groups that were held, and as you know, you were one of them. Mm-hmm. And from that, the general findings and observations that are reported in the report. First, the strengths. The NSPRA credits us with innovative programs. They were very impressed with what educationally is happening here in Columbia Heights Public Schools. They also saw a positive relationship that reflects strong, caring staff and administration. And they see diversity as an opportunity. At the same time, they also offered some challenges. We, as you probably well know, are dealing with some outdated community perceptions that impact student enrollment numbers. And we have a continuing challenge of addressing diversity. Our communication strengths and needs. We have a renewed commitment to strategic communication, and that is thanks to all of you for making the decision to bring on a communications program. Research used to build a communication foundation. They noted that, among others, that we've had several community surveys, as well as some other surveys, as well as this audit. So we're building, just as we do with finance and education, et cetera, we're using research to build our program. They noted that the current communication direction is gaining traction. And from this, then they identified our communication needs. Strengthen the connection to parents. That's a biggie. They call it continue website improvements. We actually are rebuilding the website. It is a major, major task, and we are making significant improvement, but it's a big, big task. Continue to maximize the annual report. Even though the requirement from MDE went away that we no longer have to do that, we still are going to do that. We see it as a very positive thing. And there was mixed reviews for social media. There are some people who love it, some people who don't. And as regarding diversity communication, staying current with technology and improving the district's image lead the communication challenges. Now, guiding principles for communications as defined by NSPRA is communication must be tied to the district's strategic plan. So as I noted at the beginning, our alignment, everything that we do is aligned to the strategic communication and public relations are management functions. And I thank Superintendent Kelly for allowing this seat to be at the management team. Strategic communication requires research and evaluation to be woven throughout the communication effort. I just noted that. And the communication effort should focus on engaging constituents to take action on behalf of students. Internal communication must be a priority, and that was one of my first tasks, was to build a newsletter, and we put that out every 2 weeks, and we're measuring it, and it's doing well, and it's gaining traction. People programs are recommended as best practice over paper and mass media when it comes to building supportive relationships and engaging audiences to action. Basically, what that means is that even though we're doing exceedingly well with the news media, we're getting a lot of coverage. And we're putting together a lot of materials. Nothing beats that one-on-one communication. Two-way communication about issues builds trust among constituents. And a combination of school building level and district level communication constitutes the most effective public relations efforts. A lot of what I'm doing now with the schools, we reinforce each other's messages. When they send something, I'll take it and I'll use it in a variety of different ways, but at the same time, I will have something that's district, but I'll ask them to help promote it. As an example, we have the concert coming up this, I believe next Monday, with the high school and the academy and a former American Idol singer. And we push that out through the schools to help promote it. And technology should be used to enhance the support of an efficient, timely, and effective system of communication. Director Hennekins and I are already started working on how we can better use email and the internet. So the recommendations from the report is implement a strategic communication program that reflects best practices in school public relations, and we have already started that. Expand a culture of communication, and that's basically, we have that, it's taking it to that next level so that it's from the school board all the way down to, for instance, Bill's daughter when she's out here helping us during the summer. Everybody has that same attitude. Expand outreach to parents and community. And create a crisis communication plan based on best practice. I need to note that this is not a crisis plan, it's a crisis communication plan which supports the crisis plan. And that's on my to-do list. Continue to integrate social media into the communication program. When I came on board, we had Facebook and Twitter, but as you can expect, there wasn't a lot of traffic, and that's no criticism. But we've been building that, and it's just been a lot of fun to see how different stories that we post on there, how much traffic they get. And we just had one that, for the first time, that went over 3,000 hits. And so information's really starting to get out there, and I'm very thankful for that. And expand the use of video as a communication tool. Again, that's one of my to-do lists. It's in the communication plan. And that is how can we use video to help tell our story. And you can put it on a website, but you can put it on Facebook. There's a lot of different ways we can do it. It just make it happen. Again, continue to refresh the district website. I'm not quite to the point of refreshing. I'm still building. But it's important to note, any website, regardless of what it is never inactive. It always has to be constantly updated. And at least once a day, I'm on it, or my secretary's on it. We're constantly working on it. Develop a marketing plan and incorporate effective marketing branding strategies into the communication planning. And explore additional paths to engaging diverse populations. So, what are our next steps? We are going to go through the report and identify and select the priority recommendations. I will tell you that the report, I believe, is 102 pages. And within that, I did not count all the recommendations. What I shared with you tonight are the broad recommendations. Underneath those are all the specific tactics, if you will, that we can use. Surely, way too much for any one person department to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to select those priority recommendations and build those in to the draft comprehensive communications plan. And we will present that to you, I believe in the next, by July 1st, I believe, somewhere in that
By
time
the
frame.
end of June.
Ma'am?
By the end of June.
Gotcha. And implement, there you go, implement new components of the comprehensive communication plan beginning July 1st. So, in conclusion, Nancy Crackey, who was the communications auditor for the visit, says, we believe Columbia Heights Public Schools has the components necessary to create a model communication program, strong leadership, talented staff, a supportive parent community, a solid commitment to delivering quality education, and a passion for students. And with that, That concludes, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, comments for Casey?
I wouldn't even know where to begin. There's so many little details in there, so I'm looking forward to seeing the plan, so what you come up with our priorities, so. And that, but the website is way better than the old one we used to have, so.
Thank you.
It's getting much, much, much better. That's one of the first places I look every day.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like especially the recommendation to strengthen communication to the parents, because we need them so desperately to be involved in education and in the district. And I just want to come in. I've noticed the Facebook posts have been coming pretty regularly, and I think that's great, because if anybody wants to know what's happening in the school district, they'll know. We've told our story through those posts, and we're getting the word out, and so that I think is a very positive thing. So thank you.
I think, like many things, it's a culture, and it's a not only management of expectations, but also meeting expectations of the consumers for this kind of communication. So it certainly looks like we're on our way, and, you know, we did the audit, and, you know, some of the things probably weren't all that flattering, but, you know, you got to know where to start and where to build and where your opportunities are, and we're going to get there. And, you know,
And actually, I didn't see anything in there that wasn't flattering. It was all constructive criticism.
Yeah,
and it was just, they had a lot of high regard for this school district.
That's good.
They just see that that you made the right decision in terms of creating a communications program, and we're taking the right steps in terms of moving it forward. They had a lot of positive comments.
Great. Yeah.
And I can also say that what we've learned at the national conferences on what the best school districts are doing is consistent with this plan. They are constantly putting out their message so that the public is aware of what's going on, and that does wonders for reputation, does wonders for building enrollment and improving the district. So I think what we're doing is really definitely on the right track based on what I've seen nationally through the conferences.
Yeah.
I would just like to take a minute to personally thank Casey Mahan for working with me so closely to actually walk across the bridge as we were building it this year. You know, it seemed when we were talking about this at the beginning of the year that we would do the audit and have the plan done and start implementing July 1st. Not to be able to shape that dream into reality, but we really believe we're going to get there, and that along the way, in addition to doing all of that, there's many wonderful things that are happening in communications in the district. So thank you, Casey. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, John.
I would just echo that to some degree. I know you certainly need to recognize how hard you're working, Casey. I can only imagine as you improve the website, people want more, and they want more as they get a taste for the technology as it improves. And I know any place I'm at, I see you, whether you're hiding behind the camera or whatever the case may be. So I know you're working hard, and that's a direct reflection is some of the things that the audit's talking about that we're doing well, and I know you're working on some of the recommendations that they're making too. So thanks for your hard work. I appreciate it.
And I need to thank everybody else as well, because I'm not doing this by myself. There's some really cool, wonderful people out there that are buying into this already, and everything that I do is a product of what we work together as.
Yeah.
I just want to say also, it has been a really good vision, and you're making it happen. And we do connect very well. We're starting to connect very well with the community, but and the kids. I think that's really important too, that we look at as we move forward, to look at how we're communicating with kids. But I can see with Facebook and the website and stuff that we're getting out there. But you're doing a great job, and you've definitely got the heart of Columbia Heights. So thank you.
Thank you. And I will tell you that the highlight of my day, don't take this the wrong way, is when I can go into the schools.
Mm-hmm.
If I can be around those kids, that just brightens up my day.
The best.
And we have some absolutely fantastic kids.
Very
Thank
true.
you.
I just also want to say how great it is that we're able to use this national resource, National Schools Public Relations Association, to give us such great ideas. So thank you for making that happen as well.
All right. Thanks again,
Thank
Casey.
you.
Thanks.
Yep. All right, we'll move on to our action items this evening. The board will be asked to approve a membership list for the World's Best Workforce Committee. And tonight, our presenter is Dwayne Burgess, Director of Teaching and Learning.
Chair Bardell, Superintendent Kelly, members of the board. Districts across the state are charged with creating the world's best workforce, WBWF as it's referred to. And part of that is the requirement that we build a committee that can help guide the discussion around how that's going for us. So tonight, I know in your packet you received a list of names that we would like to bring forward to invite to be members of this first district World's Best Workforce Guiding Committee. So I'm here just to seek your approval for sending that invitation out through Superintendent Kelly for our first meeting, which we hope to hold in June.
Do I have a motion moving that forward?
I'll move that.
Go ahead.
Motion
I'll
by
second.
Ted, second by Laura.
Or the other way.
Or the other way around.
That's good.
Discussion on the list for invitations. Questions, comments?
Can you just briefly explain how these people were selected?
Well, there are some guidelines within the statute. They would hope that we could get about 2/3 of the committee to be non-members or non-staff members. So a third being teachers, administrators, members of teaching and learning. And then the other 2/3 made up of community members, parents that really represent the demographics, if we can, of our district. So based on that, I worked closely with Superintendent Kelly to try to find names that we thought would make a good mix between schools across the different areas of the grade levels of our district, to include some of the people that have also worked on some of our major initiatives now, including the College Readiness Committee that's been looking at some of our work. So you'll see, hopefully, a wide range of names in terms of how they're connected to our district, and ranging from pre-K through high school, and through the different ethnic groups, the different areas of our schools, from Valley View to North Park to here on top of the hill. So.
Thank you.
All right.
I really like the list. I've seen some new names and some people that will be really good to have involved in this. Some real strong people, so that's a really nice list.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Dwayne? Any more discussion on this motion?
Can the public respond, or will they know who's on this committee? Is it going to be public knowledge, or in case they
Yes,
want to make comments?
Yeah, I think once we know who has accepted, we always have more names that we invite than accept, so we have to have a little bit of,
Right.
a few more than maybe we expect will say yes, just because people have lots going on in their lives and they may not. So we would anticipate some of these people will say, sorry, I can't. But once that list is, once we have that set of names, I think that is public knowledge that there would be, as part of this committee, one of the things that they would do is help to organize, and along with the board, the public forum that is also part of an annual event of the World's Best Workforce Committee's work. So yes, it would be very public. Once we've got the invitations out and we know who's accepting it, that would be for all to know.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Dwayne. All right. Next on our agenda is we have Lindsay Bennett, our Director of Human Resources, termination of teacher contracts.
Chair Bardell, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly, on January 28th, the school board did adopt a resolution to effectuate economies in the school district and reduce expenditures. Administration has been busy since then doing the staffing process, and we are complete now. So tonight we are here seeking approval of the resolution to terminate and non-renew the employment contracts of those probationary teachers listed.
Do I have a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Missy, second by Laura. I'll read the resolution. Resolution relating to the termination and non-renewal of the teaching contracts of probationary teachers, whereas the following persons are probationary teachers in Independent School District Number 13. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 13 that pursuant to Minnesota Statutes 122A.40 Subdivision 5, the teaching contracts of those persons listed on page 2 of this resolution, probationary teachers in the Independent School District Number 13, are hereby terminated and not renewed at the close of the current 2013-2014 school year. Be it further resolved that written notice be sent to said teachers regarding termination and non-renewal of his or her contract as provided by law, and that said notice shall be in substantially the following form. And there's a letter prescribed that will be sent to such teachers. All right. Any discussion?
I just want to point out that the board approved the reduction in hours or in positions before, so we're just effectuating that tonight by specific people.
Yeah.
And it's always a hard thing to do, always hard.
And as I understand this also is that this is based upon best guess needs in the following year. So can only go off of the good solid numbers that we have, so we're not overstaffing at the beginning of the year. So
I mentioned, I absolutely trust, admin for taking care of things correctly, but if this was last year and again this year is the hardest thing to vote for, knowing it's the right thing, but knowing that there's people involved. So it's not an easy decision by anyone, I'm sure. So.
All right. Any other comments, discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Palmer.
aye.
Bardell.
Aye.
Larkin.
Aye.
Landwehr.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Lee. Aye.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Next on our agenda is termination, elimination, and reduction of positions and programs. Do I have a motion to move that forward?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Missy, second by John. I will read the resolution minus names. Resolution relating to the termination, elimination, and reduction of positions and programs, whereas the following are positions or employees in Independent School District Number 13. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 13 that those persons or positions listed above in Independent School District Number 13 are hereby terminated, eliminated, or reduced at the close of the current 2013-2014 school or on the date otherwise noted. Be it further resolved that written notice be sent to said employees regarding termination, elimination, or reduction. Any discussion? Hearing none, would you call the roll, please?
Palmer.
Aye.
Bardell.
Aye.
Larkin.
Aye.
Landwehr.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Lee. Aye.
All right. Resolution is passed.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, board chair election. Just to recap, Mr. Landwehr and I are up for school board chair, so would you call the roll?
Palmer.
Landwehr.
Bardell.
Bardell.
Larkin.
Bardell.
Landwehr.
Landwehr.
Meyer.
Landwehr.
Lee. Bardell.
3-3.
If I could just add, it would, there are things that I'd like to discuss before we do vote on this, so if we could have discussion time prior to the vote, I'd appreciate that.
Noted. All right, board topics. One of the board topics that's listed is school board listening sessions. We talked about doing this based on a suggestion, and I don't think the point is to decide whether or not we want to do it. I think we need to figure out what it is or how we're going to approach it if we are going to do it, pros, cons, sort of that sort of things. Just to keep it top of mind. That's why it was listed in tonight's board topics. So, yeah.
I certainly don't know that tonight we need to decide where we're going to meet, when we're going to meet, and that kind of a thing. But I guess my suggestion would be to keep it moving, is this possibly have the chair maybe assign a subcommittee to talk about it, come back to the board, and maybe with some suggestions and things like that, rather than conversation going, you know, round and round and round. It was some really healthy conversation last time, but I think maybe if we can get it narrowed down for some topics through a subcommittee, if the chair would maybe consider appointing.
Idea.
Just a thought.
Any comments?
I guess we could do that. I think we're all kind of in agreement that we need to do something like this. It's just a matter of trying to make it the listening sessions as accessible as possible to the public.
Yeah.
To make sure that we're available when they need us to be available. So.
Right, and I think my suggestion is based on, I think that we're in agreement that listening sessions are appropriate, but having a subcommittee come back and say, we think we should be out here at the beginning of a meeting or wherever, and come back with some suggestions, timeframes, number of board members present, all that kind of stuff, so that we at least have a smaller group maybe getting a base and then coming back so the board can discuss it. So not a question of whether we should be doing it, but how do we move forward?
And frequency, that's,
Yep.
I think
Yeah,
that's
all
another
those
thing too.
I think all
So,
those things would be discussed
What,
initially.
where, when, why, who.
Yeah, and a backgammon board that we need to bring with just in case people are not used to
Well,
us being available. So.
Right. And ground rules and all those sorts
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
So we don't.
Yeah, proper procedures for bringing forward information that a constituent may bring to a board member at one of these sessions to be able to share it out with through the board. I would imagine we need to probably have that type of groundwork as well.
Yeah.
So.
And again, to be intentional about it. I mean, you know, and
Well, we're
not inadvertently
yes, I can see how that could happen.
do something that we may regret, or, you know.
I would love to participate if that's a consideration.
Well, I
if
thought,
we want to do some.
since the last subcommittee was me, Missy, and Ted, we have 3 board members that haven't been on one, if that's amenable.
Fine with me.
I'm good with that.
Okay, sounds good.
I guess I would like to see a full discussion of the possibilities before we break off into a subcommittee. This topic came up during the work session when we talked about communication with the public, and I don't think we threw out ideas, but we never really fully focused on how to make it work. So I'd like to see us have a more thorough discussion of it before we go to a subcommittee to bring back an action plan.
But that's what the subcommittee's for.
Right, but we really haven't, in my view, we haven't really discussed it enough to give the subcommittee direction.
What hasn't been discussed? We decided we wanted some type of a listening format to the community, correct?
Right, but we didn't discuss how that format would take place. We've just came up with the idea of having a listening format.
Well, it was more than just an idea, it was discussed, but I guess, and my thought, and if the board decides they want to have a full discussion, I'm okay with that, but I guess my thinking in recommending a subcommittee was, we go back and we talk about formats, and nothing obviously takes place till it comes back to the board and there's a discussion, but if we get some of the ideas, the points ironed out ahead of time, come back, and as is evidence in previous subcommittees coming to boards, things change. It's not like the subcommittee coming in and making the recommendation that that's going to stand. That our history is that doesn't have to be the case. So going out, coming back, and providing at least a base for that, I think makes sense to me. I mean, but That's why I suggested it.
I have a question.
yeah.
Are you asking whether or not we shouldn't have like a, not just, we want to go to a subcommittee, but the scope of what the subcommittee needs to handle? Is that what we want to try to lock down?
That's another topic that we haven't discussed as a board. We haven't really focused on the listening session format yet. So I think after that point, I'm not opposed to a subcommittee, but the subcommittee needs something to work with first before they do their work.
I guess I don't understand what, I think that we're all on the same page, basically. We know that we want to have this. I don't understand why we need to have them discuss and then come back to discuss. So I think, it's a matter, we all want the same exact thing. And we can have the discussion, Ted, if the subcommittee meets and we want to bring something else in. It's just a point of starting. And it's a direction. I think it's a really good idea, and I think the three that are here, I trust that they will hit all points. And it goes back to some of the things we talked about is trust. So I think we just, I think we move forward on something like this because there's only so much you can discuss about discussing, I think just, and if we don't agree with something, just like we have before, we'll bring it back up and as we sit in that discussion when they bring it forward, if there's a point that hasn't been hit.
Yeah, I'm certainly, just so you know, Ted, I'm certainly not opposed to having a board-level discussion on it.
That's
think,
all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. The idea was if we could get sort of a group thinking about it initially to get it going and thinking about it and bring us some ideas and we can do a discussion and, I don't know if these guys will have a chance to meet before we get a chance to discuss or, whatever. I'm not opposed to it at all. The idea was to get it up and going because we all seem to be interested in doing this and feel it's an important thing to do. And that was the idea, I think, behind it.
Would this
I
be
don't
a
wanna
top?
I don't want to put words in John's mouth, but.
Would this be a topic for next week's work session? Or is that what we're thinking? Or
The top, what?
Yeah.
The board discussion?
the listening sessions?
It wasn't.
I would like to weigh in on next week's study session because I've just had a peek at what it looks like.
It's already pretty long.
And it's pretty full, and then we have the entire discussion on one of the key attributes. We're getting to the end of the year, and since we don't meet in July, we only have 2 meetings, and they're going to be chock full. So I just want to warn the board. I'm not weighing in one way or the other. I just want to know it's a full agenda next week, and there's some things we just absolutely have to get through.
Okay.
Can I get clarification as far as what would a board discussion, you talked about directing a format, or was it that are concerned that the board would weigh in on prior to a subcommittee meeting?
I just am thinking we haven't had a full discussion of the listening session idea. We've come up with that we would like to have a listening session format, but just develop that more fully and then send the subcommittee off to come up with specific recommendations. But as I listen to how full our schedule is, maybe it would be better to do the subcommittee.
No, and my only thinking was to, and I apologize for interrupting, I didn't know you were done, but
go ahead.
was to, agreed, we all are interested in doing this. There were some ideas that were kind of tossed out, but hopefully between the people in the subcommittee come back with some good solid starting points, if nothing else, to say these are the things that we think would be a good format, and the kind of even things were discussed tonight of, how do we stay consistent in our message, how many people are going to meet, how often are we going to meet, the time frames, where, all those different things. And then if there's, we need to come back as a group and talk more about the meat of what the message is going to be. I actually honestly see that changing from meeting to meeting potentially, and needing to be a board decision that this is the message this month that we want to make sure we get out to people. So it's not, and it's not the message as much as it is kind of, like I said, it's laying down some of the ground rules of formats and the ideas. And it's always open for, additional discussion. My thinking was the subcommittee would kind of streamline things, and when we come back, we can have those hearty discussions about what are we going to talk about, how are we going to maintain those you know, consistency.
Yeah, basically, just basically coming up with kind of a rough format on how we're gonna, basically how we would handle it, or maybe some sort of a rough recommendation for how often we should meet, or for how long we should be
how
available.
long, where,
Yeah.
when.
You know, you know, and then some sort of a, I imagine some sort of a feedback thing, or a way to communicate the information that was presented to the rest of the board, so, because it is, because when we would be there, we need to be basically representing the board and making sure that everybody, you know, so it's, so we can all participate, whether we're there or not, and make sure we have that information and the concerns that are brought forward too. So I think most of it's gonna be just basically a lot of nitty-gritty, pounding out the agenda kind
Maybe
of
the
things.
mechanics of it.
The
or
mechanics
something.
of it, yeah.
On how many, and do you want to rotate, or,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
And, and again, even those things are, and again, as
how
we've
we're gonna
demonstrated.
publicize it, how we're gonna make it available, and then to make sure that we maintain some sort of consistency with the whole thing, so.
But, you know, pivoting off what Ted said, I mean, part of it is too, is if you guys go off, you know, and come back with something kind of wacky. I don't think it's gonna happen, but you know what I mean.
You really said that.
He did look right
Yeah,
at me,
he did
didn't
look
he?
at you. Yes.
You know,
Get in line.
we can make time to talk about it if, you know, we disagree, or, you know, whatever, so, that's all I'm saying.
Well, and again, we have demonstrated previously coming back with subcommittee recommendations varying
Right.
off of those things. So it is just to bring back, here's our base of ideas, what does the group want to do, so.
And I'm thinking, I don't want this to get stalled because I think it's long overdue. So if a subcommittee will move it forward quicker, given our full schedule, yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Absolutely,
Thank
can
you.
we meet tomorrow? No. I'm kidding. I wanna get started on this, so.
All right.
I
Any
just
other board
have-
talk? Yeah.
I just have this, I was gonna show you guys this last time, but I forgot. The state board put this together. It's really simple, and it's the parliamentary procedures, and it's just a little flip chart that's small, and it would be nice. Oh, do you guys have one?
We have one, yeah.
Did you guys get one? Oh, good, okay.
Well, they've
I
been
didn't
in-
see it in there.
Got that big one in here too, so.
Did we have the small one? I haven't seen,
We got the nice one too.
the big one. We got the really big one.
Yeah, but we have the little card.
There's a little one too. There's a little
Okay,
one in
good.
your
All right.
It's very helpful.
Yes, it is
And every
very
time I go
helpful.
to one of those state things, they give me a new one, so I was like, I'm collecting them.
Okay.
Got everything in there.
Anything else, board topics?
I would just say, if you're looking for something to do, check the school calendar. There's a ton of
Lot
stuff
going
going
on.
on. Every time you turn around, there's something different, so,
Concert or something.
Or check Facebook.
yeah, Facebook, yeah, yep.
And the
Yeah.
big event of the year is coming up. That should be next week, next Wednesday, Thursday, Silverwood.
Silverwood.
Yes, that is the big event. You gotta go. You gotta go. If you haven't been to one, the art, all the students' artwork is presented. They have also the little bands and the vignettes with individual players around. It's a beautiful location too. Lots of great parking. And I definitely recommend, if you have an opportunity to get out there and see the talent that these kids have, it's a really good time. I highly recommend it. I've enjoyed it every year.
So the academic awards that are Wednesday night, so
Tomorrow
come
night.
and support the community and the students that are going to be out there getting scholarships.
Knew
So
I had something going on tomorrow night.
Superintendent
I
Kennedy?
was just going to follow up, since we were going to put a plug-in for this year's what we're calling Expressions at Silverwood. The secondary opening will be Wednesday on the 21st, because there's two different nights, and the elementary opening will be Thursday. It runs both nights from 5 to 7:30, and that is at Silverwood. The art show itself will be open from 9 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, May 22nd through June 2nd.
Thank you.
As long as we're putting in plugs, real quick, the all-night graduation party is looking for volunteers, parents and community members to help volunteer. And then also the PTO at the high school is selling flowers now, so plants and flowers. And then they're also going to have a dance on Friday night, so at the high school.
Okay.
Where do we find the plants and flowers?
I think there's a website.
There
I
is.
don't remember.
Actually, you
Okay.
can actually, I think you can actually link from the school's
The school
website.
website,
I think
yeah,
the
it's
high,
down
if
at,
you go to the
Maybe
district
it's green.
website, go to the high school, and I think there's actually a link
Yeah.
right on there. Is there?
It's right on the
Casey?
front of the high school
The
website.
flower, purchasing of flowers for fundraising, that, there's a link on one of those pages, isn't there?
It-
Okay, you're supposed to.
It was on the, I looked at it today.
Huh?
It was on the high school.
Okay, yeah, I thought, that's what I thought I saw it.
And all the,
There it is. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
and all the proceeds will help build up our PTO, which has not been in existence for quite a while, so.
All right. Hearing no more board topics for this evening, we can adjourn at 8:38.